Super Bowl. Every game on the schedule crucial, it take a toll. It don't matter if we at home or on the road. You try to tackle, I'll truck a sucker and take it soul. I'm staring at 4th and goal, gotta find an open hole. A linebacker just close a hole where I'm supposed to go. So now I'm thinking my centers are all pro, so I trust he can make a waffle wherever the ball go. Yeah, there's 5 seconds on the play clock. The crowd was loud, but they stopped. Now it's silent while they watch. They stand off in the red zone. All I see is red home. Watch me get this touchdown and this W and head home.
Welcome in, Cowboys Nation. I might not have our normal beat, but we still bringing it in with a little something. We late in the season. It's Cowboy Game Day Live. Jesse, Holley, Scott Walker still. We might not be in person, but we still bringing y'all that same energy for the pregame show. So make sure y'all keep it locked here as we got Cowboys, Dolphins in Miami. What I think, Jesse, is a massive game, but how are you doing? And Merry Christmas, my brother.
I'm well, man. Merry Christmas to you. Merry Christmas to our families, our listeners, our followers, man. We appreciate you guys all through the year. Thank you so much for giving us your time and your attention as we give you the goods each and every week for the Cowboys. So thank you all. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, all that good stuff to each and every one of you.
And I want to throw a shameless alley-oop plug to you for your Holley's Helping Hands. I want you to, talk about that and how well it went, because if you were a part of that, man, shouts out to y'all. I love helping out my brother every year if I can financially with the donations, man. But it seemed like it went well again.
Yeah, it went well. It went fantastic. It went perfectly, man. Thank you all for any one of you that prayed for me or donated to us. This year we got a chance to help 1,200 families. 1,200 families in the 1,200 families in the DFW area. Were able to come out and get some things for their children this Christmas. We filled up with Holley's Helping Hands. We filled up about 8 Walmart baskets, about a half truck of box truck, man. And we shipped all that stuff over there. I wasn't able to get out to the day they actually did it. I had plans prior to, but I got word back. I got video back of 1,200 families in the DFW were able to come, and there was other people who donated towards for Tots and Reliant Energy, and a bunch of other people donated to a great cause, Sharing Life in Mesquite, Texas. But 1,200 families came through on Friday and Saturday throughout the course of the day, were able to get something, some gifts, something for their children this holiday weekend. So there will be some kids, 1,200 kids or 1,200 families with children. Tomorrow, Christmas mornings, will be able to go downstairs or in the living room or wherever they're celebrating their Christmas at this year and be able to open the gift. And it's because of people like you who donated to Holley's Helping Hands. And I thank you. I from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. And, next year, God willing, I hope to be doing the same. And I hope that it's 2,400 kids, 2,500 kids that we're able to reach next year due to the great donations of people like you all who donate to Holley's Helping Hands. So thank you.
Jesse out here playing Santa. Dak out here with the Santa fit. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Oh man, Dak with the dope Santa fit. I'm hoping he could deliver the goods for the Cowboys. A victory, that'd be nice. If y'all ain't seen it, I'm definitely digging the whole vibe. It's very Miami, right? It got the Miami vibe to it. You know what I'm saying?
Very Miami.
And it's very Miami. This is a big one here. I've been talking about it all week, really, Jesse. For me, is the importance of this game. Now, the Cowboys have not lost back-to-back games since 2021. They're 9-0 following loss in their last 9 opportunities. But I think this is their last opportunity this season to go on a road against a quality opponent and escape with a victory. Something they haven't done in Philly, in San Francisco, and in Buffalo last week. And we know Buffalo, 2 out of those 3 games, really, were just embarrassing performances. So, for me, as a fan, I look at it and I say, you're going to have to go on the road likely in the playoffs to get to where you got to go. So I believe this is a must win in a sense for confidence. Granted, it's not a must win to get to the playoffs or anything like that. But as a former player in that locker room, does something like this loom, right? Like, yeah, you're a good team, but you maybe couldn't quite beat a certain team that year or multiple teams that year. Does that sit in your head like, hey, we got to go out here and show that we can do this?
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the biggest reasons now, so much so, is because of social media, right? Because everyone now has access to giving their opinions and their thoughts. And we all know that can time, like people always try to say like, oh yeah, we block out the noise. And then you'll hear their weekly pressers, or you'll hear them on podcasts, or you'll hear them on Twitter, and they'll be repeating things that they heard throughout the week, whether from the national shows or whether from someone said on Twitter. And so those things linger with you. They fester into the locker room. They can kind of create a negative narrative in your mind. But for the Cowboys, at the end of the day, winning helps everything. Right? It helps your confidence. It helps you feel better. And when you talk about not losing 2 games in a row since 2021, you don't want to be a part of the thing that, well, we were the team that did lose back-to-back games. And I get it. It happens, and you try to bounce back from them. But late in the year, you want to be trending in the right direction headed into the playoffs, right? And wins help you get there. And you just never know what games, what the outcome of a game could mean, because, in the last 3 games, something can happen, or in this game, something can happen. So you just don't want to fart around with games that you're supposed to win. I'm not saying that you're supposed to win this game, but winning helps. Winning is the cure of all wrongs. And so the Cowboys, they need to get back into those winning ways. They need to kind of, in the basketball term, see the ball go through the net to kind of get themselves back in the proper place that they need to be heading into this final stretch of the year and getting ready for the playoffs.
Yeah, and we just talked about the road woes and everything like that. So let's kind of talk about those who will be out there. In fact, let me bring up the inactive for this one here. Here we go. All right, so we got Trey Lance, obviously the emergency quarterback, out. Eric Scott, Jalen Brooks. Sorry, Noah, but you're inactive again. It lasted all but 1 week, but no Igbenogany. Igbenogany is inactive. Vaughn is out. Big time Jonathan Hankins is out again with the high ankle sprain, but he might be back next week. But the big one here, Tyron Smith, he was designated out yesterday, Jesse, but Zach Martin is active for the game, so you kind of get a balance. But just how important is it to have, Zach in here with Tyron out?
Oh, man, huge. I mean, we saw what happened the last time we had 3 offensive linemen out in Arizona. That didn't bode well for the Cowboys. And so getting at least one of your top 2 dogs back in the lineup in Zach Martin, you're going to need it, because what Miami wants to do up front, they got some really good players up front. Christian Wilkinson, of course, Andrew Van Ginkel, and then, of course, their premier pass rusher in Bradley Chubb. Now, not having Tyron Smith out there and inserting Chuma Edoga, that's going to be where Bradley Chubb rushes off that edge right there. So being able to really sink in and anchor down and hold that blind side of Dak Prescott down is going to be huge. It's going to be important. And also in the run game, can you get the run fits properly? Can you, get out there and block the guys that you're supposed to be blocking when you need to block them? So, not having a guy like Tyron Smith, and we talk all the time about Tyron, missing those games. This will be his 4th game that he missed this year. When Tyron's actually in the lineup, he's pretty good. Right? It's just moments like these when he's not in the lineup and you're just like, man, because coming out of that game, we didn't hear anything about Tyron Smith. Didn't go out the game, didn't have any injuries, but lo and behold, he pops up with a back injury on the injury report, and now he's going to be out for this game. So it's the unknown for Tyron Smith at times with his health. Whether or not you can depend on him or not. And, the famous saying in the locker was always the best ability is availability. And so today Tyron won't be there. And next man up, Chuma Edoga, it's time to step up, because you don't know what's going to happen for the rest of the year or in the playoffs. You may be called upon again to come in here and get these reps. And you want to have that same confidence that if Tyron was out there, I'm not saying that Chuma is Tyron, but you want to have the confidence to know that, Chuma's out there, everything is going to be all right.
I think, last week I talked about game, cliches, right? And I didn't think cliches were the name of the game last week. I do think it is this week. And what I mean by that is the game is won in the trenches. That's one of the biggest cliches. And I think on both sides of the ball, the Cowboys can talk. We'll talk about that defensively. But offensively, Chuma, Tyler Biadasz, Zach Martin, Terrence Steele, I think this game is going to be in their hands. We talk about going on the road, the 2 things, and another cliche that you need to pack a defense and a good running game. And Dallas just hasn't, been able to keep a good rhythm against a quality team offensively on the road just quite yet. What I mean by rhythm, one game is bad, next game is good, another game is bad, next game. Well, they need to go back on the good side, right? And I think that starts with these guys up front opening up some lanes for this run game so things can remain balanced. Because the Cowboys, they ran the ball well against Buffalo, but they never stuck with it. And I don't know if it was because of the score. I don't know if it was the weather. I don't know. They didn't stick with it. I feel like for two different reasons, Jesse, you got to stick with this game, with the run game. Number one, because it keeps you in the rhythm, right? It keeps that play action going, and Dak can kind of move around, and they got those linebackers, which are great, the safety or the DB room, which is pretty good. You kind of keep them on the hills. The second reason is you keep that Miami offense off the field. Off the field. So I feel like they have to find some type of rhythm in this game offensively on the ground. And how do you think, based off what you saw on the film, they can kind of get that going against this is a stingy Miami defense, low key.
Yeah, it is. But I think, a lot of what we said all year long, what are some of the things that the Cowboys do well in the run game, right? Get those pullers out there, right? Get your first cousin, Terrence Steele, out there in pulls. Get Tyler Smith out there in pulls. Get this football to the edges. I think that's when the Cowboys are really at their best, when you can get, I'm not saying that you abandon running in the A-gaps at all, but I think where you make your hay is when you get these guys being able to get out there on the edges and pull, and allow Tony Pollard to use his elusiveness and his speed and his vision to find a hole and get upfield. And then you kind of counter that with some inside runs as well. But the Cowboys have to be committed to running the football. Today, their best defense will be their offense. And I think you're absolutely right. Having the time of possession will be crucial for the Cowboys. If you think that you're going to keep coming out here today and go 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, and you keep putting your defense back on the field with that track meet of an offense in the Miami Dolphins, then you're setting yourself up for major failure. You have to control the clock. You have to put together. I'm not saying that every drive has to be that, but you have to be able to put together some 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 play drives at time, eating up 5 minutes or more at a time, keeping that Miami offense at bay. And what you want from that Miami offense is feel that they're so much out of rhythm that when they do get on the field, they're rushing. They're trying to hit the home run right now. You're not allowing Mike McDaniels to run plays, to set plays up later on in that game, that they're just trying to make up ground because they've been on the sideline for so long. And the Cowboys have to be able to do that in the run game. And also, to add to that, Will, is you got to be efficient in the red zone. When you get down in the red zone, you have to score touchdowns. You can't. Now, we don't know what the outcome of this game is going to be, but we believe for what we saw that this Miami offense is an offense that can score points and score them in a hurry. So what you don't want to do is you don't want to get all the way down the football field, do all that hard work, and settle for 3, because they can come right back on the field and do a 2-play drive for a touchdown. You got to make sure that you're always staying on pace with what you feel like that offense is going to be. And at the end of the day, you also want to kind of make sure that you're maybe can get up 7 points or 13 points or 10 points. And now that offense becomes a little bit rushed, a little bit kind of like, hey, we need to get going. And then your pass rush can get after Tua Tagovailoa, who's a quarterback who I don't think wants to get hit much, nor should he want to get hit much with his history. And Mike McDaniels and company know that as well. But it's going to start up front in the trenches for the run game for the Cowboys, and they have to commit to it and stick to it.
Well, that Miami defense has some talented guys over there. You talked about Bradley Chubb, Jalen Ramsay. Since he's returned, he's been playing like one of the better cornerbacks in football, because he is. Xavier Howard is out there active. However, Javon Holland is inactive. Second-year safety who's been really talented, really good safety for this team, has been inactive for this game. And again, like I said, since Ramsey has returned, they've only allowed more than 21 points one time in the last 7 weeks, and it was in their loss. It was in that 1-point loss to the Titans, who played them tough from start to finish in that game. But let's be honest, all these players are really talented players, but this is the guy to me that's pulling the trigger, and that's Vic Fangio. Yeah. Vic Fangio back in 2021. It's funny because they asked Mike McCarthy on the radio about if he remembered. He was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't remember. He remembered. I know he remembered. Because Vic came out after that game, Jesse, and was bumping his gums pretty good, These coaches are just as competitive as fans are, as players are. They want to get their lick back too. And that was the quote-unquote blueprint game. So they asked Dak Prescott about it, Jesse, and Dak said, well, if they want to run that same thing out there, this ain't the same offense as it was a couple years ago. So, be my guest. Let's see it. Let's see what happens here, because Vic runs a very complex scheme that requires smart secondary players, and they've been able to run it pretty decently here over the last 2 months of the season. So what I don't want to do, this is why I want the run game, I don't want them out there trying to prove something every single play. And now you fall into this cat and mouse game of Vic Fangio. Do what you do, trust your game plan, and if you're serious about knowing it's going to take a long way down the field. Last week they said, hey, we knew we were going to get in there and it was going to be a long way. Miami plays a lot of zone, so it's going to take you the long way. Then execute it that way. Don't look for the big shot every time. Maybe you're going to have to get Tony Pollard involved underneath. Maybe you're going to have to get Jake Ferguson, who I don't know why he disappeared from the game plan last week. Take these things, matriculate down the field, and then when you have the opportunity, I think you need to hit it. But this Vic Fangio defense is going to be real interesting to see if the Cowboys can crack that code, because it's I don't want to say it's been the blueprint or the Achilles heel, but it is a tough defense that teams across the league have. Hell, Pat Mahomes struggled against it. So it's something that is a tough defense if they got the guys, and I think the Cowboys need to come out here and prove it that they can handle it.
Yeah, what makes this defense such, I guess, difficult, the code to unlock is it's one of a kind. I would say, in the sense that it looks like a man it looks like a zone while having man components to it.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's man in certain areas, but if you pass through, we get back to zone, and that's why. Vic Fangio needs to have those type of intelligent players, because you got to be able to pass stuff off. You got to be able to receive a guy into your area and understand the matchups and understand how the numbers count off when you got, this receiver 1 or 2 or 3, and kind of pass those things off. So, and that's the thing in coverage is, when you're a quarterback, you understand that, okay, here's what I see pre-snap. And then when the ball is snapped, here's what I see post-snap. And you kind of play by these rules of, all right, if this is a zone post-snap, if it's cover 2, then this is the areas that are open. If it's cover 3, so on and so forth. But what makes this defense difficult is when you think it's a zone, someone carries a player into a man-type coverage. And so you have to make sure that you're constantly seeing things happen in real time, right? Not trying to be too anticipatory in where you're going with the football, because post-snap, what looked like zone could be man, and what looked like man could actually be zone. That's just the way that they kind of confuse you a little bit. And that's why I think, you said it earlier, I think that's why Jake Ferguson is one of those players who are going to have a real good who needs to have a real good game today in this particular defense, because if there is a spot where you can attack, in my personal opinion, it's with the linebackers. I don't think that their linebackers are particularly great. I think they're an okay bunch, but I think this is one of those games where you can attack the middle of the field, especially with Hollins being out. Now there may be a little bit of room for you to attack a little bit over the middle of the field or in those middle of the field areas. And that's great for Jake Ferguson, who can catch the ball at 8 yards, 10 yards, 15 yards, and turn and get extra yards for you in the yak situation. And then you set that up by doing different things and working different combinations behind that Vic Fangio offense. But you're going to have to sift through some things. They're going to rush 4, and they're going to drop 7, and they're going to make you have to figure out where the ball's supposed to go while simultaneously watching the rush from those front 4s coming at you.
And the best way, in my opinion, to get a team out of that is to make sure that you have a respectable run game and drop a safety down, or have their linebackers worry about the play action, because I don't think their linebackers are great in coverage, but against the run, David Long Jr. is a problem that they're going to have to have an answer for. Get a body on. I like to see, Zach Martin and Tyler Biotish and Tyler Smith be able to stick to David Long at that second level, because he can wreck a run game by himself. He's just that good in that sense, but he's only one guy. So, I don't think they have another David Long. Another underrated player on that team, Andrew Van Ginkel, Terrence Steele is going to be playing against him. He's a try-hard, motor, runs hot. He does not stop. So Terrence is going to have to block all the way through the whistle sometimes. And then Christian Wilkins, a very underrated 3-tech in the league. I like our matchups against him, because he's either going to be dealing with Tyler Smith or Zach Martin, or maybe a help guy, with two of them, right? Because Tyler Biotish could be a help guy. So I like that matchup. But if you're going to get to a situation like last week where you're not running the ball, well, then it doesn't matter if they're undersized. It doesn't matter if you get attached to David Long Jr. or not. They'll just pin their ears back. And Bradley Chubb, Van Ginkel, Wilkins, those guys will just be like, thank you, and get after the passer and make life difficult for you or Dak, who's trying to sift through 7-8 guys in coverage. Oh, by the way, I got pressure on me all game. So Dallas is going to have to be balanced in this game and stay ahead of the chains, because if not, and ahead of the scoreboard. Because if not, now you do what everybody wants, right? You become one-dimensional. That can't happen in this game, Jesse.
No, you're absolutely right. The run game is going to be key. And I think the Cowboys, I hope that they looked at last week's tape and said, we're gonna commit to it a little bit more. And again, it also helps in your pass game when you can get those linebackers and those safeties to step up a step or two. It allows the play action pass to really work in your favor, and the Cowboys need that today.
Sure.
And then when you have the opportunity to hit those shots over the top, last week you got an opportunity one time with Brandon Cooks, and you had it. And you had it. You had everything that you wanted. You had the coverage. You have the guy running the route. You had everything you could ask for. You didn't get it, and you didn't have an opportunity to come back to that particular type of big time play again in the football game. So when you have the opportunity to do so, you got to be on your mark today. You're not dealing with any weather. It's sunny and warm for December. It's 75 degrees in Miami, so all the elements will be just perfectly fine for you to go out there and play football. So everything that you need, as far as conditions are right there. Now you got to go out there and just execute.
One more thing offensively, I don't want to see. So one of the big time matchups is going to be Jalen Ramsay against CeeDee Lamb, right? He's probably not going to follow him in the slot. And with Xavier Howard back, they'll probably just stay on their sides. They want to follow, they can follow. But CeeDee Lamb usually is going to be in the slot more often than not. What I don't want to see is Ramsey's going to try to get in your head. I need CeeDee Lamb to remain focused in this game, because we're going to need CeeDee Lamb for 4 quarters. And we've seen it, right, throughout the season sometimes where incomplete pass, or maybe CeeDee doesn't get the ball and he's kind of flailing and kind of checks out a little bit. It seems like he checks out. I'm not saying he does, but that's the feel you kind of get with his head up and just, it's like, hey, man, get in this game and stay in this game, because I feel like the minute Jalen Ramsey sees that, he's going to play into that. And if you do it early, Jalen Ramsey's going to be in his face. He's going to be in his chest, and he's going to play that game with you. And it ain't going to affect him, because he doesn't care. He's in CD. I haven't seen CD kind of get, bullied in that sense since the San Fran game. But that San Fran game, trust and believe me, I'm pretty sure Jalen Ramsey's watching that tape and say, oh, that's how I got to play this guy.
Yeah, I think CD has evolved. I like to believe that he's evolved into a much more mature player. And I get what you're saying 100%. And you can easily eliminate that. Get him involved early. Get him involved early. And then to have to be deep shots, get him involved early. Historically, the Cowboys have run a lot of slant routes. Get him involved. Get a couple slant routes going. Get him in a rhythm a little bit. Let him touch the football a little bit. Let Jalen Ramsey know that whether you're on him or not, whether you're shadowing him or not, he is still a dog. He is still our guy, and we're going to target him in this game. So just letting because there is a competitive spirit that goes on, right? When you line up good versus good, when CD lines up against Jalen Ramsey and Jalen Ramsey lines up against CeeDee Lamb, like offensively, you want to say I want to make sure that my sword is where I think it's at. Right? I don't want to go out here and go up against the best and all of a sudden I disappear. Like that's a pride thing at times. You know what I'm saying? Now, I get it. If let's just say, for example, hey, I'm not getting a rock. Hey, but on the other side, we are eating and we're moving the ball up and down the field and conditions are happening and special things are happening. Then I think you have a CeeDee Lamb that's like, hey, I don't have to get the ball right now because those dudes are eating. So while you staying over here in my face and messing with me, y'all giving up touchdowns and big plays on the other side of the football field. It's when I'm not getting the ball and they not eating. Now I got a problem. If you try to get them the football, you try to get them in the offense and they're not, the passes are being incompleted, the ball is being dropped, things aren't being done well, and I'm not getting it either, that's when CeeDee Lamb kind of gets a little bit into his feelings and like, whoa. If it's going to go bad, it's going to go bad with 88.
Yeah.
It ain't gonna go bad with 13. It ain't gonna go bad with 3. It's gonna go bad with me. So if they eating, I'm their biggest cheerleader. But if they not eating and I'm not getting the football, and I gotta hear, I shouldn't say, Mr. Sassy Mouth. I'm getting a little bit upset. I'm not gonna hear Sassy Mouth over there, and I'm not getting the rock, and they're getting locked out on the other side. Something got to give.
He do be a little.
He a little, you know what I'm saying? He a little sass.
Little sass is crazy.
I don't know. You ask him. You ask him. I don't know.
Yo, that interview was kind of wild. Yeah, it's like, bro, why are you so mad, my guy? Just asking about the matchup. Why are you so sassy?
Tell
so
me.
Zesty. Jeez. Final thing. My bad. Final thing on this. What I don't want to see them do though is come out here and get stagnant. That bugged me last week. The offense got stagnant. It was the second lowest rate of play action and pre-snap motion all season. Don't come here in Miami with this good weather and waste that opportunity. You better match the other side who's going to do a whole lot of it. A whole lot of that motion.
It's tough to match the other side because they don't. No one does it more than them.
They don't. But you gotta run it. Probably a season high. I think in this game, their season high I think before was like 68%. They gotta get around there. They gotta hover around there because they gotta get some identifiers. I think from that Vic Fangio defense, and they gotta score some points because as we flip it to the other side, Jesse, this team leads the league in scoring. They lead the league in yards. They're their fastest team I think since the probably '99 Rams. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Raheem Mostert, and Devon A-Chain. I think all these dudes could. This is probably the best relay team in the National Football League, like on one team, right? So offensively, you got to score points to keep up with potentially what this offense can do. Now, this is going to be a huge challenge for this defense, but they have to answer it today because they got embarrassed last week on the ground. And I know we think about Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle in this game, and Lord knows they're probably having nightmares over there, if we're being completely honest. But for me, and look, you're a receiver, so I know where you're going. But for me, it's about stopping this run first, bro. It's about stopping
I'm with
this.
You.
Okay,
no,
okay,
I'm with you.
Okay, good.
I'm with you, bro.
Good, because as talented as those receivers are, as talented and fast and ridiculous as they are, I'll go into any game saying, pass on us, please. Please pass on us because we have the pass rush, and you usually will not have an offensive line that's going to be better than the Cowboys' pass rush, right? So they're dealing with injuries up front, and usually teams will try to do what when that happens? Get the ball out quick and run the ball. Yep. Mostert and A-Chain have been ridiculous on the ground this year, and guess where the Cowboys been struggling? On the edges. Guess where they run a lot? On the edges, Jesse. It starts to me with stopping these two dudes.
Absolutely, man. When you talk about, I said throughout all my shows this week that what Mike McDaniels wants to do, he wants to create angle advantages, right? It's not necessarily all the time about getting the block or getting a pancake block. I don't need to. When you have that type of speed, I just need to create angles that gives me the advantage with my speed. And when you talk about Mostert and A-Chain, Mostert, who has 18 rushing touchdowns this season, A-Chain, who averages 8.5 yards a carry.
That's nuts.
On the year, and he missed a bunch of games, right? And so when you think about that, you think about, okay, well, and this is that part when you look at last week. When you look at James Cook and you say, well, James Cook, the Buffalo running back, he averaged 4.2 yards a carry before contact. If you're going to give them 4.2 yards, if you're going to give Mostert and A-Chain 4.2 yards before there's a Cowboy defender that lays a finger on them, you're going to be in for a long day. Because unlike James Cook, those two dudes, if they have that much space, they're rockets.
Yeah.
They're out of here. And the angle that you thought you had, by the time they picked up speed, that angle is erased. That angle is gone. And now that speed, it turns into something that you don't want it to turn into, and it's a track meet that let's be honest, you cannot win. If you get into a track meet with these receivers and these running backs, you cannot win. You just can't. You don't have the capacity on your football team to run up and down the football field with this type of speed. So for the Cowboys, you have to be willing. And we've said this so many times, and you heard Dan Quinn say it, and it's a cliche, right? It's a privilege to pass rush. What does that mean? You have to sell out on first and second down and stopping the run. You can't worry about getting sacks. You can't worry about jumping in and out of your assignments. You have to be assignment sound as you've ever needed to be in the season.
Yeah.
This has to be a willingness today that is paramount for what the Cowboys need to do up front. Because if you got guys bouncing around, and a lot of that, I'm talking to Micah a lot of those times, because with everything about his greatness, there are times where he gets to get in that hero mode, right? And he bounces things inside when he should be outside. And sometimes he wins because he's a great athlete. But on those edges is where they're coming today. And, Tank Lawrence, for the limited number of sacks that he gets in every other area, pressures, run stopping, tackle for loss, he's phenomenal. He's really phenomenal. But they're going to test those edges today, and you bet to be sure to be where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there all the time. Because the moment you blink is when you miss them.
Yeah, I have a thing here where we call it edge defense. We're playing against a team like this in San Francisco because they're mirror each other. They're basically the same style of offense, especially when it comes to their run game. And the ease in the edge stand for edge containment and effort. Mm-hmm. I feel like the Cowboys are going to need to obviously have that containment, and if it is broken, or if you do allow them to stretch it out further, you're going to need so many hats to the ball, right? Hats to the ball. I need to see 5, 6, 7 Cowboy hats to the ball so that there isn't this easy alley to just cut back through and they get a 70-yard touchdown. Again, I know this might sound crazy given who they have out there. I'm with you. I'm selling out to stop this run game first, and I'm putting pressure on Tua Tagovailoa because he's not a guy, Jesse, that's going to move around. He only has 13 scrambles on the year. Just to put that in perspective, that is one more than Mac Jones in New England. And Mac Jones has been in and out the lineup all year. So, Tua, I know he got the complexion for the perfection, but he ain't running like the rest of them dudes out here. So you can forget about it when it comes to Tua and take it off. He's going to sit right back there like he's Mac Jones. So, stop the run on first and second down and make Tua have to drop back. And when you do, be sure you make him have to play off schedule. Because that's the one thing he's done at a higher level probably than anybody in this league is when he plays on schedule, man. It's like 1, 2, 3, back foot, and he's fitting it in these windows and these tight window throws, and he's allowing Waddle and Tyreek to just go. And you're not catching Waddle and Tyreek when they have a running head start. So after stopping and run, to me, is get Tua off that spot. If they can get Tua off that spot, I think the Cowboys can have a field day sacking him. But it's going to be important to get him off that spot. Yeah,
and you made a really good comment on it mirrors what the 49ers do. And there's two things that the Miami Dolphins do that is very reminiscent of the San Francisco 49ers. It's the pre-snap motion, right? And when you watch the pre-snap motion, a lot of times in Miami, they're doing two motions most of the time. They're going to motion every single play, just about.
Every play, yep.
At times, they're going to do these two motions, right? You'll see kind of one motion that's kind of just like, let's just see if you'll show your cards. And then they'll get set. And then they'll go another motion. And that motion kind of more so full speed. And that's where they create those angles at. That's where they create the angles in the run game. Because now, and it's timed up so well. When they need to get to their spot, the ball is being snapped at the time they're supposed to get there. And what it does, it catches guys shifting. It catches guys trying to change strengths. It catches the back end trying to rotate their safeties. And now the on schedule part is Mike McDaniels, very much so like Kyle Shanahan. They're like, listen, if we've done the work already for you, right? As the game designer, play callers, we've done the work for you already. When we call this play, if you get this look, the ball goes right there. And that's why you've seen Brock Purdy, and that's why you see Tua Tagovailoa have so much success, because what their coordinators have done, what Mike McDaniels and what Kyle Shanahan has done, they have done the work for the quarterback so that when the ball is snapped, they're trusting that, hey, throw it there. We're calling this play for the ball to go right there. If it goes right there, it hits when it's supposed to hit, we'll have success. And they'll take the chances of saying, you know what, if they win on a rep, they win on a rep. but just keep trusting the details of what we coached. And I think that's one of the two things you're talking about game manager. Like these two quarterbacks are the best two at game managing the game plan that they've been giving because of the coaches doing the work before the game even starts. They implement a system that is said it is ready, built to go. All you have to do is just follow our tools, follow our keys. If you do that, you will be successful. And you have two quarterbacks, Brock Purdy and Tua Tagovailoa, who have definitely been successful in these schemes.
I tell you what, as you're talking about this, I saw somebody mention this this week. This is a good chance for Dan Quinn and the Cowboys players to have some redemption against this scheme, right? This very almost exact same scheme gave you a ton of trouble earlier in the season. Again, you talked about Brock Purdy and Tua. I'm not saying they're the same player, but they sure as hell seem to be doing the same things in a similar system, right?
Yeah.
And Dallas struggled with it in week 5, was it? And the players were frustrated in how they were, the game plan on defensively. It was mostly cover 3 and then cover 1. That's all it was, all game. I feel like Dan is this is a great opportunity because you're not going to see the Dolphins again, right? But this is a great opportunity to say, okay, I'm not saying you change up everything you do, but damn it, you're going to have some type of curveball to this scheme, or if you come out there and do man all day cover 1 and think that's going to work, boy, you better get home, and you better get home in 2.5 seconds or less, because that got chewed up. That got absolutely obliterated earlier in the season. And this team, the only difference I think between that team and this team is not the weapons necessarily. It's the offensive line. This offensive line is compromised in this game.
Yes.
That could play in your favor, but I felt like I said that last week. And this team went out there and ran 266 yards on you. So I think this is a good opportunity for Dan Quinn to say, okay, let me throw a few curveballs here and there. And let's see if we can get a beat on this offense and then have some, again, not just confidence winning on the road, but confidence knowing if we want to get to where we want to get to, we got to go see a similar offense on the road again. And now I got something on film for Shanahan to take a look at.
You know what? I think what you literally just said is the biggest component and factor of this game. Like this game, yes, you want to win this game. But if you can win this game, what does this do for your defense to go like, man, you know what? This was the same scheme that gave us trouble before, and we figured out a way, right? I think that even mentally helps you out because let's be honest, and I've said this for months now, there ain't too many teams beating the 49ers.
Yeah, they're the best team in football right now. Like,
yeah, you know what I'm saying? And so you're gonna if your road to Vegas, it's gonna have to go through Santa Clara. And yeah, I think that's so critical right there. What you just said about seeing a system that's very similar, almost identical to the Niners, and being able to defeat that. Dan Quinn, talking about self-scouting, he has to be able to go back to the lab and self-scout. And this is not about execution, right? Styles make fight. The style that the Cowboys run, the cover 3, the single high man defense, that's a style that this defense, this offense in Miami wants you to play. They want you to do that. They welcome it. They go, this is what you want to do all day. Then God bless you, and God blessed us for the Christmas gift because now we can do what we do. So there has to be some sort of wrinkle that Dan Quinn throws in there, even if it doesn't necessarily you do it the entire game. Right. I think this is a great opportunity to practice it, to get the live reps from it. And then I'll add on the tail end of that is this is a game where players, the great ones, the elite ones, the ones who are out of this world show up. This is one of those games where, hey, you want to be in that conversation of I'm the best. This is the game when you feel like, hey, all the odds are against us. Styles make fights, but I'm the biggest, baddest mofo around this town, and I'm gonna go up here and I'm gonna wreck some shop. And this is, for me, this is eyed and gunned at number 11. Okay, you. I know the back and forth talks about being linebacker, off the ball, on the ball. I've said this since they converted Micah Parsons to a pass rusher. I said that any rep for him not rushing the passer to me is a wasted rep. But today is one of those days where their offensive line is compromised, and what they do is if we're being honest, what they do and what you do defensively, they're better at doing that offensively than you are to doing it defensively. But they have you are the superior player, and you can wreck a game by yourself.
Yeah.
This needs to be one of those games where Micah Parsons goes off and he has the 4 and 5 sacks, maybe a forced fumble, a strip sack fumble, or something like that. This is the type of game that you have to go off and you go, yeah, I know what they had against us, but they have no answer for me. And this is, I think, that's going to go a long way for Micah.
Yeah.
So I think what you said is absolutely phenomenal and on key. But I also challenge Micah Parsons to say, you my guy, you have to take over this football game today.
So we need to see the Lion, right? We need to see big body Dak. You know how he was doing the big body Dak. We need to see the CD Lamb with the nose.
Or tucking it. He's tucking the chain. I need that.
Yeah, we need all that. Yeah, you're right, man. At the end of the day, you know, if the scheme isn't the greatest for either side of the ball, then okay, I need our big time players to go out here and make these big time plays in a big moment. Look, I get it. It's an AFC game. Technically, this isn't the end all be all. Philly also plays 3 NFC teams, so if they lose, Cowboys lose, and then win out, they can still have a potential shot at the division. But for me personally, I'm not giving up. I know everybody can say it's over for the first seed, but again, we're going ahead. San Fran plays the Ravens this week, and they also play the Rams later on in the season, who are playing ball, and they're going to be playing to get into the playoffs. So, and they always play San Fran tough. Just thinking, if you take care of your business, Philly's reeling right now. It wouldn't be a shocker if they lost to Drew Lock. They can lose to Tommy Cutlets and what's the other one? Kyler Murray. No, Kyler Murray.
Oh, Kyler Murray. Yeah,
Kyler Murray's the other one. Yeah, Tommy Cutlets or the Vito. Right. You know, so I'm just saying, like, the first seed I don't even think is over just yet. It's not, technically. So take care of your business. This is a big game to me, man. Huge game to me. Huge game to me.
And man, I'm going to be thinking about what you said from here on out. Like, just, boy, that's going to be a huge test for Dan Quinn. Like, this is a huge test for Dan Quinn's defense. This is very similar to the Niners. This offense is very, very similar to the Niners, and you need to find a way. You need to find a way, and you have an opportunity. This is the tune-up. You have an opportunity to kind of put some things in play. And again, even if they don't go well, you get a chance to exercise them. You get a chance to put them on film, and now you can go back and tweak the tweaks, right? You add some wrinkles to your defense, and then you're able to iron out those wrinkles later on. But this is your last chance of seeing anything like you're going to see when you have to put the Niners in Miami today. They're going to have the quarterback who's just as good. They're going to have the receiver. They're going to have the running game that are just as good. So this will be the last chance for you, Dan Quinn company and defense. So not only winning the football game is paramount, I think this defense playing well against this offense is paramount for their psyche, for Dan Quinn's psyche. But being able to go back and self-stop, that is, man, you hit the head right there on that one.
Hey, I've been struggling with this final part of the show, man. We always do Cowboys win if, Jesse. There's a lot of things they got to do to win this game. So I'll start off, give you time here to think. But for me, I struggle with, okay, the cliches, right? Cowboys win if they win the trenches. I truly do believe that, right? Like, if they block it up front on offense, we can run the ball, keep them off the field, and the same thing on defense, you get after it too. I think that's an obvious one. But for me, if they stop the run, I feel like if the Cowboys can stop the run, not they rush for 110 and they average 4.8 yards per carry, like, you know what I mean? Like, that's an okay day for a team that averages more than that, right? But if they absolutely make this team one-dimensional, I feel good about the Cowboys winning this ball game, because that means Tua's dropping back a whole lot. Tua has to hold the ball. You can now throw some different things defensively back there. And if that's the case, you can get your turnovers. And if you're getting turnovers, you're giving more opportunities for Mike and Dak to figure out Vic Fangio's defense. So I'm going to go Cowboys win if they stop, not just hold it, not contain it, stop this Dolphins run game.
Yeah, mine is and maybe I'm picking on them, and maybe I am,
Mike.
Maybe I am, and I'm okay with that.
It's fine.
But Cowboys win this football game if Micah Parsons is a monster. Not the podcast talking Micah. Not the media talking Micah. Like, you need to be you need to. They compared you at times to LT. You need to be LT today.
You're talking one of those. Yeah. I won this game.
You want to be thrusted back into the defensive player of the year category. Like, today's that day. Like, today, you need to have, oh yeah, don't forget about me in the defensive player of the year conversation day. See, you need to have a 4 or 5 type. You need it. Only have to be all about, like, you need to be so disruptive today. Like, there shouldn't be many plays defensively that they are not saying something about Micah Parsons. Wow, look at Micah Parsons in on that tackle. Boy, look at Micah Parsons setting that edge. Boy, look at Micah Parsons taking on that blocker, dismantling him, get rid of him, get after the quarterback. Whoa, another sack for Micah Parsons. That's a strip by Micah Parsons. A fumble recovery from Micah Parsons. Like, that needs to be the day. Like, the day, this is where the Cowboys, if they're going to have a chance defensively, right? Because we talk about all the, like, the Miami Dolphins, they're first in scoring, they're first in yards, they're first in rushing, they're first in getting the ball out, they're first in motions, they're first in, the one area where the Cowboys are number one in, rush. Pressure. Yep. Like, you have, if that's where your advantage is at, then you have to take full advantage of it. And I think that's led by your best player on defense. You need to have Randy Moss on Thanksgiving versus the Cowboys. You need to have Tom Brady in the playoffs type. You need to have whatever that looks like. You need to have an epic day. You need that. That's neat. If the Cowboys win this game, we're going to come back here post game and we're going to say, boy, number 11 was an absolute animal. You need to be the Hurricane of Miami. That's what you need to be.
I'm going to be messy. I don't think that can happen at edge. I think if they put him at linebacker, he can do it. That's just me.
Well then, hey, that needs to be. Maybe that's the wrinkle. Maybe that's the wrinkle they played with a little bit today. I don't figure it out.
The reason why I'm saying that is because that type of game, if you think about it, man, I think of like when TJ Watt has done something like that. You brought up LT. A lot of the times those dudes may be dropping back sometimes. They're playing to run a little bit. They're moving. Put it this way. Let me not just say linebacker. Move him around, Jesse. I'll bring it down a notch a little bit. Move Micah around. You want Micah to have that type of impact. It's not going to be because you put Micah on the left or right side 90% of the time where they can easily game plan him out of the game. I just don't think he can ever have that type of game that you're asking for by doing that on one side of the field, especially against a team that runs the ball as much as they do. You have to move Micah around.
I think that offensive line is compromised with their injuries. I think even at full strength, they aren't the best offensive line that he's seen
facts, true.
this year.
True.
So moving him around, I'm totally fine with that. But it needs to be done. And maybe I'm being unfair to him. But if you want to be that dude, if you call yourself that dude, then it's these moments where you need to have that dude type of performance.
I agree. I mean, and that's straight business right there. Micah Parsons goes out there and he has a defensive player of the year type of game. Cowboys gonna win this game for sure. So for Jesse, Cowboys win if Micah basically is Superman out there for this game. For me, and you see a whole lot of this, or the crawl, right? I like to see the crawl a few times.
I like to see the crawl too, yeah.
And for me, if the Cowboys stop the run, I think they win. So look at the side of the ball we're on here. We're talking about the defense having to step up in this game. If they step up and they play like a top unit they can be, this could be a game Cowboys walk away from. One last player we didn't bring up that's active in this game, Malik Hooker, could be extremely important in this one back there on the roof. Because they play a whole lot of that cover one. You're going to need him to play solid.
No more Jerron Kearse being single high safety.
Please.
No more.
Anytime he's back there, I'm going to be like this.
No more Jerron Kearse being single high safety.
Please, no, Cowboys Nation. Cowboys, do not put number one. If I see number one back there, it better be because they just trying to punt it on fourth and something. Like, don't put him back there to try to run sideline to sideline against these guys. Absolutely not. With that said, we're about 5 minutes away from kickoff, Cowboys Nation. We will be back here for the halftime show, me and Jesse Holley. And like I always say, man, hopefully I don't come in here with an attitude. Last week I had an attitude, okay? It's Christmas. We're about good spirits, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Good spirits. So
no bah humbug.
No, I don't want to, unless we're being the bah humbug to Miami. You know
Let us be the Grinch. Uh-oh.
Exactly. All good, man. With that said, make sure y'all come on back at halftime, Cowboys Nation. And please, if you happen to be on your phone listening, watching us right now, and you're down there in Miami, be loud, be proud, take over that stadium. Because I don't know. I don't know if you play down there, Jesse, but I can't see the Miami fans being like the Buffalo fans. So Cowboys Nation, stand up out there, man.
Yes, sir.
All right, we